Hi everybody, thanks for coming to yoga class. I know this is a little strange probably for everyone. If you're someone that's been coming to RC Health and Fitness and to my classes for a while, hello. Please say hello to me in the comments. I would love to hear from you. If you're someone brand new, please introduce yourself. I would love to meet you virtually. So anyway, this will be somewhere between 45 minutes and 70 minutes of Vinyasa yoga, much like my regular classes if you're used to coming to my classes. So we'll just go ahead and get started. All right, so come to your comfortable seat. Legs can be crossed if that's comfortable for you. If not, legs out in front of you is good. If you want to sit on your heels, that works too. Really just want to be in a comfortable position to start. Hands can come to the tops of the knees or the thighs, palms facing down for keeping some energy to yourself, or up for receiving from the room. If it's comfortable for you, close your eyes. If not, find a spot on the floor in front of you to softly concentrate on. Move front to back, side to side. Make sure that you're nice and grounded in the mat, that you can feel those sits bones grounding down into the mat and the backs of the legs that are meeting the mat, grounding down. On an inhale, roll your shoulders up towards your ears. And as you exhale, roll them back down your spine. So you're sitting up nice and tall. Top of the head is reaching up toward the ceiling. Tailbone is reaching down toward the floor. And let's over-exaggerate to start. So really drawing everything up and in, reaching up, kind of a tight seated position. And then settle a little bit. Let the backs of the legs come back down to the mat. Let the belly soften. Let the shoulders stay nice and relaxed away from the ears, and let that spine stay nice and long. Breathing naturally as you settle in. Letting everything fall away. In kind of weird times now, so it's not your normal work day and home stresses that are maybe causing some tension in your life. It's something different, some new tensions and stresses. So let's just let anything that's been weighing on you or bothering you or stressing you out go. Breathing naturally as you settle in, coming into your yoga space. And then as you feel ready, beginning to deepen the breath and transitioning to breathing through your nose if you're able to do that. Taking a few breaths on your own to start, observing what's happening as you begin to deepen the breath and begin to let things go. And then eventually, as you feel ready, begin a body scan. Start at the top of your head and work your way all the way down to your feet, checking in with each joint and muscle as you go. And looking for any areas of the body that feel sticky or sore or tired. Make a little mental note of those areas so you can be kind to yourself as you work through this practice. And of course, continue to deepen the breath as you work on that body scan. As you finish up your body scan, transition over to a mind scan. Check in with yourself there, see what's happening. Take any of those thoughts, things you have to do, shopping lists, anything at all that might disturb your peace, and begin to let those things go one by one, instead bringing your focus to your body and your breath. And of course, we'll continue to deepen your breath as you work on that mind scan. thoughts are going to continue to try to break through during class. You can't really stop them from popping up, but you can stop yourself from engaging with them. Once you catch yourself, come back to the breath, come back to yourself, and just let those thoughts move on. A couple of tools we can use to help with that process. The first is the breath itself. So all together, let's take a couple of cleansing breaths, and then we'll come into our Ujjayi breath, or deep breathing. So take a big inhale through your nose, fill your lungs all the way up, open your mouth and exhale. Again, big inhale through the nose, fill the lungs all the way up, open your mouth and exhale. Again, let's take another big inhale through the nose. This time, as you exhale, do so through an open mouth, but act as if you're trying to fog up a mirror. Feel some heat beginning to build at the back of the throat. Take another inhale through your nose, filling the lungs all the way up. And this time, as you exhale, keep the mouth closed and do that same warming breath at the back of your throat. Continue breathing in that way as I'm speaking. This is your Ujjayi breath. This is the breath you want to try to carry throughout class, and it also acts as a focus point. So if your mind starts to wander away during class, come back to your breath. You can say to yourself, inhale and exhale as you're breathing, or you can imagine your breath as a color. See it as it comes in through your nose and fills your lungs. Imagine it moving past your lungs to energize your body, and then observe your breath as it reverses its path on your exhale. The second tool you can use to help keep your mind focused and present is to set an intention. Your intention can be a goal, something personal, physical, or emotional that you're working on. It could be repetition of a prayer, or a mantra, or a saying, or even just a word that means something to you. It could be sending love and good thoughts to someone who needs it, even if that person is you. The intention is optional, and if you'd like to set one, do so now by bringing your hands to heart center and repeating your intention to yourself silently 3 times. If you don't want to set an intention, just enjoy a few moments of silence. And remember that your intention works just like your breath. As we move through class, if you find your mind wandering away, you can return to your intention and repeat it to yourself silently until whatever thoughts that are bothering you are gone. Now you can open your eyes, bring your hands down to the mat beside you. Let the fingertips be touching on the mat. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. On an inhale, turn the palms up, bring the hands all the way up overhead. As you exhale, spread the fingers wide, extend all the way through those fingertips and bring the hands back down to the mat. Inhale once again, make that spine long. As you exhale, the chin come down to the chest. So we're keeping the spine long, keeping the shoulders relaxed away from the ears, and just letting the weight of the head do some work here. Make sure that you continue breathing. On your next inhale, bring the right ear to the right shoulder. Pause for a moment. You can gently move the head front to back till you find that sweet spot down the left side of the neck where you find a nice stretch. On your next inhale, bring the gaze up toward the ceiling. If this is painful in the neck, just bring the gaze straight in front of you. As you exhale, left ear comes down to the left shoulder. Again, pausing for a moment, finding that sweet spot, maybe gently moving the head and breathing. Take another inhale. As you exhale, the chin come back down to the chest. Again, keep that spine nice and long. Keep the shoulders relaxed away from the ears. When you inhale again, lift the gaze, turn the palms up, bring the hands all the way up overhead. As you exhale, turn toward the right. Take the left hand to the right knee and the right hand behind you on the mat or the floor. Inhale to make your spine nice and long. And then as you exhale, settle into a twist by gazing over the back shoulder. Keep the breath nice and long and deep. The breath will help intensify this stretch in the shoulders and the rest of the body. On your next inhale, return to center. Both arms come back up overhead. And as you exhale, turn toward the left. Right hand to left knee, left hand behind you. Again, inhale to sit up nice and tall. And then as you exhale, settle into that twist by gazing over the back shoulder and breathing. On your next inhale, return to center. Both hands come back up overhead. Exhale, spread the fingers wide, turn the palms down, and bring the hands back down to the mat. When you get there, switch the cross of the legs. So whatever leg was on top is now on the bottom. It might feel a little awkward. Recenter yourself. Find that nice grounding back down into the mat. On your next inhale, turn the palms up. Bring the hands all the way up overhead. As you exhale, bring the right hand down to the mat. Inhale, nice and tall through the left side, and as you exhale, walk the right fingertips away from the body. Coming into a side bend, trying to keep that left hip grounded down into the mat and lifting the gaze, keeping the chest nice and open. On your next inhale, rise all the way back up. Both hands come up overhead. Exhale, left hand comes down to the mat. Inhale, nice and tall through the right side, and then as you exhale, walk the left fingertips away from the body. Again, keeping that gaze lifted, keeping the spine long, and working on keeping that right hip plugged down into the mat. On your next inhale, rise all the way back up. Both hands come back up overhead. Exhale, turn the palms down, bring the hands down to the mat. Now take the hands out in front of you, unwind the legs behind you, and come into tabletop pose. So we have the hands right underneath the shoulders, knees right underneath the hips, and we're going to move into cat and cow poses. So as you inhale, move the belly down toward the floor, lift the head and tailbone to the sky, cow pose. As you exhale, curl everything under, press the mat away, tuck the chin, option to curl the toes for a stretch on the bottom of the feet. As you inhale, return to cow pose, send the belly down toward the floor, lift the head and tailbone up to the sky. And then exhale, finding cat once again. Curl everything under, gaze back at the navel, option to curl the toes, press the mat away. Returning to cow pose, as you inhale, belly moves down toward the floor, head and tailbone up to the sky. And one more time, let's find cat pose. Curl everything under, tuck the chin, option to curl the toes, press the mat away. Next time you inhale, return to your neutral spine. When you get there, sit back on the heels, walk the hands out in front of you, and bring your forehead down to your mat or to a block in child's pose or balasana. Remembering, as always, that child's poses are a resting pose. As we move through class, if you find you need a break, you don't like the pose we're doing, or it becomes painful, you can use child's pose to take a break and then rejoin class when you're ready. On your next inhale, lift your gaze so that you can see your hands, and then let's return to tabletop pose. Hands are going to come under the shoulders, knees are underneath the hips, and now let's come down onto the forearms. So we're going to bring the forearms down to the mat, elbows right underneath the shoulders this time. We have the fingers spread nice and wide, knees are still underneath the hips, and we're just modifying our cat and cow pose. So our first cat and cow poses kind of stretch the middle and the lower part of the back. This one I find stretches the upper part of the back a little bit more. So from here, we're just going to do our cat and cow poses. As you inhale, move the belly down toward the floor, lift the head and tailbone up to the sky, and exhale, using the forearms, press down into the mat and then tuck the chin. Curl everything under, gaze back at the legs. Inhale, return to that modified cow, pressing into the mat, lifting the head and the tailbone. Exhale, curl everything under, tuck the chin, gaze back at the legs. One more time, return to that modified cow pose. Belly moves down toward the floor, head and tailbone up to the sky. And exhale, that modified cat pose. Curl everything under, gaze back at the legs. On your next inhale, return to neutral. Rise back up into your regular old tabletop. Then let's step the hands out about a hand's distance and shift forward into plank on the knees. May need to adjust the placement of the legs. Press the palms down into the mat. Strong shoulders here, strong chest. Belly button moves toward the spine. Take an inhale. Elbow creases are facing the front of the mat here. As you exhale, bring a bend to the elbows and keep the elbows close as you lower yourself all the way down to the mat. When you get there, bring your feet together, engage the muscles of the core, and inhale to peel the chest up into cobra. You want to be using just the core here. Should be able to move the hands out without losing height. Take another inhale. As you exhale, release. Inhale, return to plank on the knees. And exhale to child's pose. Pause here for just a moment. And we're going to go through another round a little bit quicker this time. On your next inhale, lift your gaze. Shift forward into plank on the knees. Exhale, nice and controlled. Lower yourself down, elbows stay close. Feet come together, engage the core. Inhale to find cobra. Exhale to release. Inhale to find plank on the knees. And exhale to child's pose. One more time, let's move through that same sequence. On your next inhale, lift your gaze. Shift forward into plank on the knees. Exhale, nice and controlled. Lower yourself all the way down to the mat. Feet come together, engage the core. Inhale to find cobra. This time, if you'd like to press the hands down into the mat and extend. Let's keep those elbows close, shoulders bent. Exhale to release. Curl the toes under. As you inhale, return to plank on the knees. And exhale to child's pose with the toes curled under. So finding a little stretch here on the soles of the feet. Check in with your feet. You'll find that the weight is probably on the ball mounds of the big toes. Let's roll that weight out toward the pinky toes. Getting a little stretch. And then roll back to center. On your next inhale, rise up enough so that you can lift the feet up off the mat and do some gentle rotations with your ankles. Maybe wiggle the toes, work out any tension you may have found. And then bring the tops of the feet back down to the mat. Sit back on the heels. Child's pose. We're going to work our way up to standing now. So on your next inhale, lift your gaze so you can see your hands. Shift forward into plank on the knees. Curl the toes under. Rise up into full plank. Pause for a moment. Spine is nice and long here. Belly button goes toward the spine. Take an inhale. As you exhale, send the tailbone up to the sky. Find your first downward facing dog and move forward a little bit here. Press the mat away. We have all 10 fingers spread wide. Tailbone reaching up toward the sky. Heels are reaching down toward the mat. And if you'd like, pedal the feet out. Bending one knee and then the other. Waking up the backs of the legs. Getting those muscles moving. If your hips are feeling a little tight, one thing I like to do here, as I bend one knee, I like to kind of bring it across my body. It gives me a little stretch on the outside of the opposite hip. It's just an option. It's up to you. Just kind of want to get moving here. On your next inhale, rise up onto the ball mounds of both feet. Press the mat away. Reach the chest back toward the legs like you're going to fold in half. And then as you exhale, send the heels down toward the mat. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, step or hop your way to the front of the mat until you find yourself in forward fold, Uttanasana. So I have my feet about hips distance apart. Toes are facing the front. Body, upper body is nice and long. Let the head hang here. You should be able to shake it yes and no without too much resistance. You can have as much bend in your knees here as you like. So if you're feeling a little tight, bring a little bend to the backs of the knees. Take the hands to the elbows. Make a little picture frame for your head. And then you can gently sway from side to side. Make sure you keep that head and neck nice and free here. And give it a little shake, yes and no. Should be very little resistance there. And then if you're swaying, return to center. If you're holding onto your elbows, release them. On your next inhale, bring your hands to your shins. And then bring your upper body parallel with the floor. So top of the head should be pointing to the wall right in front of you. Shoulders are away from the ears. Spine is long. Make your spine longer than you thought you could. Really reaching the top of the head toward the front. Take an inhale. As you exhale, fold and release. On your next inhale, hinge from your hips. Reach your arms wide and reverse swan dive. Rising all the way up. Hands come up overhead. And as you exhale, bring the hands down to heart center. Mountain pose, Tadasana. You can keep the hands at heart center. If you're more comfortable in Tadasana with the arms down by the sides like this, that's fine with me. Whichever works for you. We're going to move right into Surya Namaskara A, Sun Salutation A, from mountain pose at the top of the mat. If you know your sun salutations and you want to go on your own breath here, feel free. Otherwise, I'll lead you through it. On an inhale, extend the arms wide, bring the hands up. Exhale, swan dive, hinge from the hips and fold all the way down to the mat. Inhale, hands come to shins, make that flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. As you exhale, fold forward, plant the palms, and step back to plank or plank on the knees. Elbow creases facing the front. Take an inhale. As you exhale, nice and controlled, keep those elbows close. Let's lower all the way down. Feet come together, engage the core. Inhale to find cobra, option to extend. Exhale to release. Curl the toes under. As you inhale, return to plank or plank on the knees. And then exhale to downward facing dog. Here we're going to take 5 inhales inhales and exhales on your own breath. After your 5th exhale, step to the front of the mat and meet me in forward fold. From forward fold, inhale, hands come to shins, find that flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold and release. Inhale, reverse swan dive, extend the arms wide, rise all the way up. Option for a gentle back bend here. And exhale, mountain pose, Tadasana. Moving into Surya Namaskar B, sun salutation B. Feet can stay parallel or toes can turn slightly inward here. As you inhale, act as if you're sitting back in a chair. You can keep the hands at heart center, extend them out in front of you, or bring them all the way up in Utkatasana chair pose. We have the knees apart here, facing forward. Take an inhale. As you exhale, hinge from the hips, fold all the way down to the mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Make that spine nice and long. Hands can come to shins or fingertips can stay on the mat. Exhale, fold forward. Plant the palms and step back to plank or plank on the knees. Option this time to lower all the way down like we did last time, or to lower halfway into Chaturanga. Turn the tops of the feet to the mat and inhale into upward facing dog. Alternatively, you're in cobra. Exhale, curl the toes under, tailbone goes up to the sky, downward facing dog. Inhale, send the right leg up and behind you, 3-legged dog. As you exhale, right foot comes in between the hands, spin the left heel down, and inhale to sweep the arms forward, rising up into Warrior 1, Virabhadrasana 1. We have the right knee bent, outside of the left foot is making contact with the mat, hips and shoulders are square with the front of the mat, shoulders are relaxed. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, hands come down around the right foot. Step back to plank and flow or skip to downward facing dog. If you're flowing, you're lowering halfway or all the way. Inhaling into upward facing dog or cobra and exhaling back into downward facing dog. So from here on out, those flows are optional. I will do them all, but if you want to skip to downward facing dog, that's just fine. On your next inhale, send the left leg up and behind you. Exhale, left foot comes in between the hands. Spin the right heel down. Inhale to rise up. Warrior 1, Virabhadrasana 1. Check in with all those points. The left knee is bent. Outside of the right foot is making contact with the mat. Hips and shoulders are square with the front of the mat. Shoulders are relaxed. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, hands come down around the left foot. Again, step back to plank and flow or skip to downward facing dog. This time in downward facing dog, we're taking those 5 inhales and exhales. After
After your 5th exhale, step to the front of the mat and meet me in forward fold.
From forward fold, inhale to Ardha Uttanasana. Find that flat back. Exhale, fold and release. Inhale, sit back in your chair. Hands can come to heart center, sweep in front of you or come all the way up. And exhale, rise up, mountain pose or Tadasana. I should have said at the beginning of class, if you have a block at home, you can use that. If you don't have a block, something block size, an Amazon box or a Tupperware or something like that would be just fine. And if you don't need one, you don't need one. I always like to have one. I just think it's nice that you have it there if you need it, and if you don't need it, it's there. All right, mountain pose, starting at the top of the mat. Come back to yourself, take an inhale and an exhale if you need to. We're gonna move right into our next sequence. On your next inhale, extend the arms wide, bring the hands up. Exhale to swan dive, hinge from the hips, fold all the way down. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. Exhale, fold forward, plant the palms, step back to plank or plank on the knees. You can work through a flow here or skip to downward facing dog.
From downward facing dog, inhale to send that right leg up and behind you. As you exhale, right foot comes in between the hands. Spin the left heel down and let's return to warrior one. Virabhajasana 1, check in with all those points, sinking into the right knee, relax the shoulders. On your next inhale, bring the arms down by the sides, palms facing forward, sink a little bit deeper into that right knee, and lift the chest and the gaze slightly. So maybe you're looking at where the ceiling and the wall meet. Breathing here. On your next inhale, hands come to heart center. As you exhale, hinge from the hips and begin to fold. Pause when the upper body is parallel with the floor. You can keep the hands here at heart center, or you can extend the arms up overhead. Gaze is down at those right toes. Don't lose the bend in the right knee. Make sure you're breathing. On your next inhale, engage the core and lift yourself all the way back up. As you exhale, left arm goes down the right leg. Send the right arm up a little bit higher and lift the gaze. Deep breaths here. On your next inhale, sweep the left arm forward. Arms come back up overhead, warrior one. Exhale, hands come down around the right foot. Step back to plank and flow, or skip to downward facing dog. I'm going to switch sides throughout class, just because I think it's a little bit easier to see this way, but you guys stay where you are. On your next inhale, send the left leg up and behind you. As you exhale, left foot comes in between the hands. Spin the right heel down, and again, let's inhale, sweeping the arms forward into warrior one, Virabhajasana 1. Relax the shoulders, sink into that left knee, breathing here. On your next inhale, arms come down by the sides, palms face forward. Sink into that left knee, lift the chest and the gaze. Nice open chest, working on those full inhales and complete exhales. On your next inhale, hands come to heart center. As you exhale, hinge from the hips and begin to fold. Again, pause when the upper body is parallel with the floor, about halfway. Gaze is down at the left toes. Option to keep the hands right here at heart center or to extend them up overhead. Keep the bend in the left knee. Make sure you're breathing. And on your next inhale, engage the muscles of the core, rise all the way back up, warrior one. Exhale, right arm goes down the right leg. Send that left arm up a little bit higher and lift the gaze up to that hand. Breathing here. Next inhale, sweep the right arm forward. Both arms come back up toward the sky. And exhale, hands come down around the left foot. Again, step back to plank and flow, or skip to downward facing dog. Find your nice strong downward facing dog. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, step or hop your way to the front of the mat, returning to forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, find that flat back. Exhale, fold and release. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Extend the arms wide, rise all the way up. Option for a little back bend here. And then exhale to mountain pose, Tadasana, continuing with our movement. On your next inhale, extend the arms wide. Bring the hands up. Exhale to swan dive, hinge from the hips. Fold all the way down. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, find that long spine. Exhale, fold forward, plant the palms, step back to plank and flow, or skip to downward facing dog. From here, inhale, send the right leg up and behind you. Exhale, right foot comes in between the hands. Spin the left heel down. Inhale to windmill those arms open. Warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. So we still have a bend in the right knee. Outside of the left foot is making contact with the mat. But this time we have the hips turned toward the long side of the mat. Arms are at shoulder height. Gaze can be over the right fingertips. Breathing here. Take an inhale. As you exhale, bring the right elbow down to the right knee and send the left arm up overhead at an angle, side angle pose. So your long line from the left fingertips to the outside of the left foot. And we're not putting all of our body weight on that right elbow. You're just kind of using it as a placeholder. Gaze is lifted. Try to keep this side of the body nice and open so you're getting a stretch there. Make sure you're breathing. On your next inhale, use the core. Windmill those arms open. Arms come to shoulder height, warrior two. Exhale, release the arms. Straighten the right knee and turn the right foot so both feet are facing the long side of the mat. We want the toes facing forward or slightly inward. So you want the feet parallel, definitely not outward. We want to protect those knees. Let's take the hands to the hips. Inhale to stand up nice and tall. Notice I'm reaching the top of the head toward the ceiling, not lifting everything up. So spine is long. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, hinge from the hips and begin to fold. Pause when the upper body is parallel with the floor. Take another inhale. And as you exhale, fold and release. You can release the hands down to the mat. And here's where you can adjust the feet. If you'd like them a little bit further apart or a little bit closer together, now is the time. We want the hands right underneath the shoulders. On your next inhale, as best you can, press into a flat back. So make that spine nice and long, top of the head pointing toward the front of the room. And then as you exhale, hinge from the hips and fold. You can, several options here. You can walk the hands underneath the body so that the hands are in line with the feet. You can take the ankles, or take the hands to the ankles and use that to pull yourself down a little bit deeper. If those aren't working for you, you can take a block or whatever you're using instead of a block. underneath the hands and just remain in this halfway folded position. Wherever you are, you're breathing. And we're gonna stay here for several breaths, letting the weight of the head do some work on the spine, maybe finding a little release from any tension that may be building up there. And on your next inhale, if you're holding on to the ankles, release them. Walk the hands back underneath the shoulders, making that spine nice and long. Top of the head pointing toward the front of the room. On your next inhale, as best you can, find your flat back. So maybe you're coming up onto the fingertips, making that spine nice and long. Maintain your flat back as you take your hands to your hips. And when you inhale again, let's rise all the way back up to standing. Heel toe the feet back toward each other and then turn the right toes back toward the front of the mat. Spin that left heel out. Bring the arms back up to shoulder height. Take an inhale. As you exhale, bend comes back to the right knee. Warrior two. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, hands come down around the right foot. Step back to plank and flow or skip to downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, inhale to send the left leg up and behind you. Exhale, left foot comes in between the hands. Spin the right heel down. Inhale to rise up into warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. So we have those arms at shoulder height. Bend is in the left knee, gaze is over the left fingertips. Strong spine, strong shoulders here. Take an inhale. As you exhale, left elbow comes to the left knee, right arm extends up overhead at an angle, so long line from the right fingertips to the outside of the right foot. Again, no body weight here on this arm, we're just using it to kind of hold our place, lifting the chest and the gaze. Make sure you're breathing. On your next inhale, use the core to lift yourself up. Arms come back to shoulder height. Exhale, straighten the left knee. Arms come down by the sides. Let's turn the left toes inwards. Now we're back in our wide-legged position here. Let's take the hands to the hips. On an inhale, make that spine nice and long. Top of the head's pointing up toward the ceiling. As you exhale, hinge from the hips and fold. Again, pause when the upper body is parallel with the floor. Take another inhale here. And as you exhale, continue that fold, releasing the hands down to the mat. Let's bring the hands right underneath the shoulders. Again, you can adjust those feet if you need to. And for this one, if the hands don't come all the way down, you will want to grab a block or a pillow or whatever you have around to get the palms down to a surface. Let's take the right hand right underneath the face. Take the left hand to the left hip. On your next inhale, press down through the right hand to turn toward the left leg. Get the chest and the shoulders around first. And then if you like, you can send the left arm up to the sky, lifting the gaze. So I'm turning my head to follow my hand. If that's painful on your neck, just keep the gaze out to that side, breathing here. Take an inhale. As you exhale, left hand comes down to the mat. Let's replace the right hand with the left hand and take the right hand to the right hip. And now again, on your next inhale, press down through the left hand to turn toward the right leg. Get that chest around. And then if you like, you can send the right arm up to the sky. Again, letting that gaze follow the hand. Deep breaths in this twist. One more inhale. As you exhale, right hand comes back down to meet the left. Let's bring the hands back underneath the shoulders. When you inhale again, find your flat back. Make that spine nice and long. Maintain that flat back as you take your hands to your hips. And let's inhale to use the core, use those strong muscles rising all the way up. Heel toe the feet back toward each other slightly. Turn the left toes toward the front of the mat. Spin the right heel out. Arms come back up to shoulder height. Take an inhale. As you exhale, bring a bend back to the left knee, warrior two. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, hands come down around that left foot. Again, let's step back to plank and flow, or skip to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, take a nice big inhale through your nose. As you exhale, bring the knees down toward the mat. Option to bring the knees wide on the mat. Uncurl the toes, sit back on the heels. Child's pose. So, a couple of options here in this child's pose. You can stay right where you are. If your shoulders are getting a little bit tired, you can bring the arms down by the sides, letting the hands rest back by the feet. If your forehead is on the mat or on a block, you can gently move your forehead from side to side. Give yourself a little headache relieving massage or sinus relieving massage. Some of us might need that these days. But in this child's pose, you're trying not to let the mind wander away. So you're putting your body in this somewhat idle position. Your brain's going to try to start getting busy. So don't let it. You see those thoughts pop up. Just let them move on their way. If you have your arms down by your sides, extend them back up overhead. On your next inhale, lift your gaze so you can see your hands. And then let's rise up into tabletop pose, taking the hands underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips. On your next inhale, send the right leg straight out behind you. Keep that right foot flexed, toes pointing down toward the mat. Now, you can stay right here, or you can extend that left arm out in front of you. So you want to be a long line from the left fingertips to the right heel. You can stay here, or if you want to go a little bit deeper, let's bring a bend to the right knee so the sole of the right foot is pointing up toward the ceiling. And final option is to reach behind you with that left hand, find the right ankle, grab on, and then press the foot into the ankle so you can lift the chest and the gaze. Breathing here, half bow pose. On your next inhale, if you're holding onto that ankle, release. With control, let's send everything out nice and long. As you exhale, left hand comes down to the mat, right knee comes down to the mat. Recenter yourself. If you've shifted, bring those hands back under the shoulders, the knees back under the hips. And on your next inhale, send the left leg out and behind you. Left leg is nice and long, left foot is flexed, toes are pointing down toward the mat. Again, you can stay right here or extend the right arm out in front of you. Big stretch, fingertips to heel. Stay right here or bring a bend to the left knee, letting the sole of the left foot point up toward the ceiling. And then, of course, we have that final option. Reach the right hand behind you, find that left ankle, press the ankle into the hand, and lift the chest and the gaze. Deep breaths here wherever you are. On your next inhale, with control, release that left leg. Send everything out nice and long. Exhale, right hand down to the mat. Left knee down to the mat. Find your tabletop. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, sit back on the heels. Bring the forehead down to the mat. Quick child's pose, just a little counter stretch for that lower back. On your next inhale, lift your gaze so you can see your hands. Lift up enough to curl the toes under, and then return to downward facing dog. Sending that tailbone up to the sky. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, step or hop your way to the front of the mat, finding forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale to Ardha Uttanasana, find that half forward fold, flat back. Exhale, fold and release. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Extend the arms wide, rise all the way up, option for your gentle back bend. And exhale to mountain pose, Tadasana. Let's keep this movement going here from mountain pose at the top of the mat. Inhale, extend the arms wide, bring the hands up. Exhale to swan dive. Hinge from the hips, fold all the way down. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, find your flat back. Exhale, fold forward, plant the palms, step back to plank and flow, or skip to downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, inhale to send that right leg up and behind you. Exhale, right foot comes in between the hands. Let's take the left knee and the top of the left foot down to the mat. And when you inhale again, sweep the arms forward, rising up into low lunge, Anjaneyasana. Relax those shoulders. Lift the chest and the gaze slightly. Let the weight of the body do the work here. Make sure you're breathing. Take an inhale. As you exhale, bring the hands back down around that right foot. Now, if you can't bring that left palm down to the mat on the inside of the right foot, bring a book underneath it, bring a block underneath it if you have. You want to have a nice solid base here for that left hand. And then we're going to take the right hand to the right hip. On your next inhale, press down through the left hand so you can turn toward the right leg. Get that chest around, and then if you like, you can bring the gaze over the right shoulder. Option to send the right arm up to the sky. Deep breaths here. We're in low lunge with a twist. Now, you can stay right here. Or on your next inhale, bring that right arm parallel with the floor. Let the gaze follow the hand, so you're looking behind you at that right hand. Final option, bring a bend to the left knee. Let the left foot come toward the right hand and give yourself a little thigh stretch. This is an option if you have pain in your knees. Don't do this. On your next inhale, release what you're holding on to with control. Bring that left foot back down to the mat. Send the right arm back up to the sky. Exhale, right hand comes to the outside of the right foot. Inhale, sweep the arms forward, returning to that low lunge. Sink into those hips, relax the shoulders, lift the chest and the gaze. Maybe go a little bit higher this time than you did the first time. Maybe not. Whatever you're feeling today. Take an inhale. As you exhale, hands come down around the right foot. Curl the left toes under, rise up into high lunge. Step back to plank and flow, or skip to downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, inhale to send that left leg up and behind you. Exhale, left foot comes in between the hands. Right knee and top of the right foot come down to the mat. And then inhale to sweep the arms forward, returning to low lunge on the opposite side. Let the hips sink in. Relax the shoulders. Elevate the chest and the gaze. Make sure you're breathing. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, hands come down around that left foot. Again, let's find a way to plant the right palm either on the mat or on a block or something, and it may be different from one side to the other. Once you get it nice and planted, take the left hand to the left hip. On your next inhale, press down through the right hand, turn toward that left leg, and get that chest around. Then you can send the gaze over the left shoulder, and then option to send the left arm up to the sky. Again, letting the gaze follow the hand if you go there. Make sure you're breathing. Now you can stay right here, or on your next inhale, bring the left arm parallel with the floor. Again, if you go there, you're letting the gaze follow the hand. And final option is to bring a bend to the right knee, taking the right fingers to the left hand, or excuse me, right toes to the left hand. Gaze is still back behind you. Make sure you're breathing. On your next inhale, with control, release that right foot. Let it come down to the mat. Send the left arm back up to the sky. Exhale, left hand comes to the outside of the left foot. And then when you inhale again, let's sweep the arms forward, return to that low lunge, lifting the chest and the gaze, maybe a little bit higher this time, maybe not. Make sure you're breathing. Take an inhale. As you exhale, hands come down around the left foot. Curl the right toes under, rise up into high lunge, and then step back to plank for the last flow of class, or skip to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, big inhale through your nose. As you exhale, knees come down to the mat. Uncurl the toes, sit back on the heels, child's pose. We're not going to be here too long, so don't get too comfortable, and also don't let that mind start to wander away. And on your next inhale, walk your hands towards your body, rising up into a seated position. If sitting on your heels is painful for you, we are going to be here for a few breaths, so if that's not going to work for you, just bring your legs around in front of you, straight out in front of you, or cross-legged, whatever works. Wherever you are, hands will come to the tops of the knees or the thighs. Relax the shoulders down the spine, close the eyes, or find a spot on the floor to softly gaze at. Chin is about parallel with the floor, top of the head is reaching up toward the ceiling. And come back to that breath. Going for 3 to 5, either Ujjayi breaths or full inhales and complete exhales on your own breath. Also want to try to bring your mind back to your intention if you set one. Now you can open your eyes back up. Sit to one side or the other. Bring your legs around in front of you. And give your legs a little shake. Kind of get the blood moving. I always like to kind of punch my thighs a little bit or give them a little massage here. Kind of get everything moving again. And then once you worked all that out, let's move from side to side. Make sure you're making good contact with the mat. Hands come down to the mat. Sit up nice and tall. Engage the muscles of the legs, flex the feet, heels may come up off the mat. Draw the shoulders away from the ears, Dandasana, staff pose. Take an inhale. As you exhale, you can relax those heels down toward the mat. On an inhale, turn the palms up, bring the hands up overhead. And as you exhale, hinge from the hips and fold. Hands land where they land, hips, feet, ankles, shins, thighs, wherever it is, grab on. And on your next inhale, lift the gaze. So you're looking out over those toes. Make the spine nice and long. When you exhale again, hinge from the hips and fold. Bring the nose down toward the knees. You can use what you're holding on to continue to pull yourself down, or you can relax the hands alongside the legs and just let the weight of the body do the work. Make sure you're breathing. On your next inhale, let's slowly rise all the way back up to seated. When you get there, take the hands behind you on the mat, about a hand's distance from your body with the fingertips facing the body. Point your toes. And when you inhale again, press the hands down into the mat so you can begin to lift the hips up off the floor. Bring the gaze up toward the ceiling. Point the toes. Try to bring the soles of the feet back down to the mat. Reverse plank. Take an inhale. As you exhale, bring the hips back down to the mat. Bring a bend to the knees and drape your arms over your legs. Kind of gently sway from side to side if that feels good. And if you're swaying, return to center. Let's lift everything back up. Make sure you have some room behind you on the mat, so if you lay down, your head will be on the mat and not on the floor or the blanket or the towel, whatever you're using. Hands are down by the sides. On an inhale, sit up nice and tall, make the spine long. And then as you exhale with control, bring yourself down to the mat, bending your elbows as you go so you can catch yourself. And then eventually surrendering all the way down to the mat. Make sure that the back of the head is on the mat, so not the top of the head. You see the ceiling when you open your eyes, not the wall behind you. Step the feet a little bit closer to the body, so the soles of the feet are on the mat. Walk the shoulders away from the ears, and then tilt the pelvis upward and release. So you find this nice neutral spine. Pausing here for a moment. Make sure you're breathing. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, bring the knees into the chest. Wrap the arms around the legs. Give yourself a hug. You can gently rock from side to side if that feels good. If you are rocking, return to center. Keep the right knee in toward the chest. Let the sole of the left foot come down to the mat. And let's take the outside of the right ankle across the left thigh. So you're making a figure 4 with your legs here. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, bring the left knee in toward the chest. Send the right arm in between the legs, left arm around the outside, and you can either grab the left shin or the back of the left thigh. And then gently draw the left knee toward the chest, and you'll find that the closer you pull that leg toward your chest, the more intense the stretch is on the outside of the right hip. Breathe into this reclined pigeon pose. Can be a very nice hip stretch. On your next inhale, release the left leg, let the sole of the left foot come down to the mat. And then bring the sole of the right foot down to the mat. Again, you can gently move the knees from side to side if that feels good. If you are rocking, return to center. Take an inhale. As you exhale, bring the left knee in toward the chest and then take the outside of the left ankle across the right thigh, making that figure 4 once again. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, bring the right knee in toward the chest. Send that left arm in between the legs, right arm around the outside. Again, taking hold of that right shin or the back of the right thigh. And then gently drawing the right knee toward the chest, as much or as little as you like, to find that stretch on the outside of the left hip. On your next inhale, release that right leg. Let the sole of the right foot come down to the mat. Let the sole of the left foot come down to the mat. Again, option to gently rock from side to side. If you are rocking, return to center. Take an inhale. As you exhale, both knees come in toward the chest. And then send the arms out wide like a T, palms facing down if you're able to do that. Take an inhale. As you exhale, let the knees fall over toward the right. Gaze can stay up at the ceiling, or if you'd like for a deeper spinal twist, you can bring the gaze over the left shoulder. Try to keep both shoulders on the mat. If one pops up, that's not a huge deal, but that's what we're going for, keeping them both down. Make sure you're breathing. On your next inhale, gaze comes up toward the ceiling, knees come up toward the ceiling. Exhale, let the knees fall over toward the left. Again, gaze can stay up at the ceiling or come over the right shoulder. Try to keep both shoulders on the mat. Make sure you're still breathing. Next inhale, gaze comes back up, knees come back up. As you exhale, both knees come into the chest, wrap the arms around the legs. This time, squeeze yourself into a little ball, bring your forehead up towards your knees, bring everything in. And when you inhale again, send the arms and the legs nice and long on the mat. So you're going for a big full body stretch, fingertips to toes. We're preparing for final relaxation or shavasana. So once you get your nice big stretch in, relax the arms, bring them down by the sides, let the palms face up. You can close your eyes. Let the legs be nice and long on the mat. Now you guys can close your eyes. I'm gonna ring a little tone when it's time to come out of final relaxation. So don't worry that you're gonna miss the ending of it if you close your eyes. I promise I will guide you through it. Everybody take a nice big inhale through your nose. Open your mouth and exhale. Again, big inhale through your nose. Open your mouth and exhale. Find that any tension remaining anywhere inside your body is melting away. Take the next few moments to enjoy this feeling of peace and relaxation. Give your best to what you are doing. Let all your energy and attention be focused on the task at hand. When the mind is one-pointed, it is capable of concentration and is free from tension. Live in the present moment. Begin to bring some awareness back to your body. You can start by wiggling your fingers and your toes, and then bring some movement into the joints of the wrists and the ankles, and then into the bigger joints of the arms and the legs, until you feel ready to extend your arms back up overhead, taking another nice full body stretch, fingertips to toes. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, roll over onto one side or the other. You can use your upper arm as a pillow. Take another moment inside this feeling of peace and relaxation and acknowledge that you created this feeling. You don't have to come to class to get it or watch a class on your phone to get it.
It exists inside of you all the time, and you can access it anytime, anywhere. As you feel ready, press back into a seated position. You don't need to open your eyes. You can just sit up where you are. When you get there, bring your hands to heart center. Recall the intention that you set at the beginning of class if you set one. And repeat it to yourself one more time silently. And thank yourself for setting this time aside to take a yoga class for yourself. And I thank you for spending an hour or so with me. The light within me recognizes and honors the light within each of you. Namaste. So I know that with all this stuff going on with this virus, it's a different kind of stress in your life, in my life, in everyone's lives. And I think one of the good things that we can do for ourselves is just take some time out. And whether it's yoga or just sitting by yourself, getting outside, we've had some lovely weather. Whatever it is, make sure you're taking care of yourselves. And I can't wait to see you all in person again soon, okay? Thank you.